Warming up. Manually resharing the feed.
Oh, but we're trying our new optimized version. Which is really just, we now have one chat we're going to spam.
Oh my gosh. Because of the light, the board game looks like it's called Dindo. Which is my cousin.
That's going to be a hit. Dindo.
Is it Baduy Pride Chat? No, it's a different one.
No, it's Baduy Pride Chat.
This one.
I
That's
just
the name.
use the same.
Yeah, that's the name.
Yeah.
Okay, making sure. But you know, Dindo.
So sad that I see it now. It's Starbucks lover all over again. Vector's posting. I think there'd be a better way to automate this by now, but no.
Anyone who has joined the stream, we can't tell you're there unless you comment. So please do send a comment.
Oh, they approved enough. They got rid of the monetization limitation on the unboxing video.
That's good.
They stopped flagging Jazz Saturna, I guess. Okay, posting. Huzzah!
So it's a new week, and we have a bunch of stuff for all of you this week.
Although we factored in a break for ourselves midweek, just
Yeah.
to like keep pace, because things are kind of nuts.
Well, I'm also noticing that we're always failing to prep ahead and all that, so it kind of just shows you we're playing catch up.
That's true. But again, because work's been pretty busy. So, but I still enjoy this. It is definitely a nice little escape. Here's a weird highlight.
Can you see it?
Yeah, you're not quite Mr. Fantastic.
When it's only with the light, see it?
So it's worse when you turn fully because then your wiffle at the back shows
It's
up.
so weird. Both sides.
Yeah, it's picking up the light for some reason.
The light in the back.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just showing that area and not the entire back of the head.
No, you're like an angry dog. Oh.
So we're starting in a bit. Just making sure we wait for a minute or two before we officially start.
Yeah, just give people time to come in.
Oh, that was the new iPad update, I think.
What, you dismissed it?
When I turned it on, it was like, clock, series suggestion. Because it knows I used the clock at this time.
Is that like our device telling us that, hey, you always had a 45-minute timer at this time of the week?
Yes. Okay, hey, Mitch.
Hello, Mitch.
But yeah, I think we can officially start.
Oh, you should have grabbed the other one too.
We won't take long with this episode.
So we say.
But yeah, we can officially start with our intro. Once you're ready. I tried to say it slowly, but no, you didn't pick it up.
Sorry. I'm super getting there. Okay.
Oh
my god, Mitch has read the boxes Dindo also.
See? I told you it looks like Dindo.
Alright, we're gonna start first.
Oh yeah! Really great!
This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, a little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
This is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. It's a Monday, so it's a board game night, and we are talking about one of the other escape room in a box like experiences that we have started to
We have
really
to talk
get
about
into.
that definition.
And this one is not Dindo,
It is. What was
despite the light.
the angle that we're? Yeah, it's like downward and then undo.
It's Undo.
Finding fate anew.
But it seems because of the lighting and because of
weaving fate anew.
because of there. See,
It's like because it's yellow text in big poofy letters on a reflective surface
with a yellow glow,
with a yellow glow.
and the fact that it doesn't really look like letters if you look at it there. See, yeah, that's a font.
It's Dindo. All right, so before we begin, for people who are new to the stream, we can't see who's watching, so it really helps if you comment and participate in the
Mhm.
discussion, so we can also say hello to you if you're here. Okay, and of course, all the usual stuff. Please like, share, get more people to join us because it's a board game night. Okay,
So this is Undo 600 Seconds. It is a game by designer Michael Palm and Lucas Zack. It basically is less an escape room.
it's more of a deductive storytelling
Yeah.
sort of thing.
So it sort of like draws inspiration from stuff like Choose Your Own Adventure.
Definitely feels like a choose your own
But
adventure.
at the same time, grabs inspiration from Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective.
Or at least we feel like it's similar. We can't really say it's an inspiration because we
Mhm.
don't know the designers and what they were thinking of when they came up with this game. Oh, hey, your hand.
And so the game is set for 2 to 6 players. I personally feel a solo player
You could totally
can work.
solo this.
I don't see why they never considered it as something solo. And for a big box like this, it actually is.
Okay, it's not that big a box, but it's really just cards.
Yes, just cards. Cards that come in 2 sizes. You have the tarot size cards and the much smaller cards. And just like any other game that is like an escape room, it tells you to stop.
Yeah, but if you're not ready to play. So the whole franchise is a time travel based game. So which
Mhm.
kind of feels like, oh my god, what's our other time travel game?
Time stories.
Time stories. So it sort of feels like time stories in the sense that we start with a scenario and then we have the option to go back in time.
Mhm.
But very specifically, the concept of undo is that you are trying to
Undo.
you're trying to undo what's happening. So you're
Mhm.
trying to buy time for your protagonist in the, I don't know if you want to call it the present, but the start of the game.
And Undo 600 Seconds, we suspect it was inspired by the movie Die Hard.
But it doesn't take place on Christmas. It takes place on New Year's Eve, which is super different.
You play a guy who is trying to stop a bomb from exploding.
We don't. We are helping
You're right.
at least this guy who starts off
Sorry.
trying to defuse a bomb.
You play Weavers of Fate, who are trying to save the
Weavers.
life of a guy who is trying to undo the bomb, but it explodes. And to do so, you do this by going back in time to certain points which are laid out by the cards, by finding out clues that may help you understand what's going on.
and then making tweaks to his timeline, or so to the timeline. Sorry,
Mhm.
because there are multiple characters.
In hopes of buying him more time and hopefully not getting him further hurt in the process. So to go further is a bit tricky because that would have to do with showing the cards. So I'll have to do it in a less specific way
I
to
think you
avoid
can at
spoilers.
least you can still like roughly show the location cards because that's pretty standard. Like, and I think that's the general undo approach. So the undo in undo, you're given you're gonna have 13 locations or about 13 locations. One of them is your starting location that sets up the scenario that explains where you are. So in 600 seconds, it's pretty much the bomb. Okay, and then they made all the cards look the same. So I guess they're thematic to the condition. So in this one,
Mhm.
they all look like a keypad that you're trying to defuse.
But then each one is labeled specifically to be a place,
and a time.
a point in time,
And how much time ago in this case, it's all expressed in seconds. 300 seconds ago, 180 seconds ago.
Because the starting card in the game is when, in this case, the bomb explodes, but there is a card after it.
One card after. So,
So-
there are 13 locations. One is the starting or the critical one for the scenario, and then you have 11 locations in the past and one location in the future.
Other than the large cards, you have the smaller set of cards. The first set is cards that act as tokens. These time tokens are what you spend whenever you have a round to choose a location you'll go to, and they help you keep track of the movement of the game.
You get, at least in this scenario, you have 9 time tokens, so that means you won't be able to visit all the locations in the
13
game.
locations.
Yeah.
Once all 9 tokens are gone, then you must then move to the ending. You also start with 4 magnifying glass tokens. These are spent in order to look at the clue cards. There are a number of clue cards, and these clue cards are all specific to certain locations.
So basically, one clue card per location.
So there's card the wrong side there. There's a number for what location they go to.
So you match them, and then there will be a word. And that word, in terms of the narrative that is written on the location card, is also in bold. So the caveat is that you spend magnifying glass tokens to reveal the clue card.
Yes.
But you can only reveal the clue card of locations you are at or locations you have
previously
already visited in the game.
Beyond that, we have a deck of cards which represent the possible options in the game.
These are the cards of fate.
There are always 3 cards for each location, at least in this scenario, which represent the 3 possible choices you will make in each location.
And that's why it feels choose your own adventure.
And that's where the choose your own adventure.
You're going to say it too.
So if, let's say, in the location was you're about to cross the street, do you A, cross the street without looking, B, pet the dog before you cross the street, or C,
run quickly
and tell the woman beside you to run alongside you. And the annoying thing in this game is you will always be working with partial information. Part of the challenge of the game, which I guess was meant to be thematic, is since you are weavers of fate moving through the time stream, when you visit a location, the narrative that's contained in the card might not necessarily make sense to you. You might have a card that says, the man with the coat angrily yells at you for spilling his coffee. And you're thinking, but the previous scene, I was crossing the street. What happened in between? And you now try to figure it out. Then you later realize, oh, wait, I was the guy who was trying the coffee. So
it feels kind of Quantum Leap,
Mhm.
where you have no control over whose perspective you're going to be in, which is both annoying but also a good challenge because the game has no other components. So
Yes.
unlike things like Exit, which is all about trickery and little things that you can cut up, discover in the game, or Unlock, which uses an app that sort of surprises you with twists, hidden objects,
or gadgets.
and machines.
Yeah.
So
Machines,
this game
machines.
has none of that. This is all just cards, and just to go back to like the main story card, because it's the safe example. Basically, you have a similar card back, and then
I'll hold it closer.
when you flip it over, it's a wall of text because it is a story game. So you are going to read the card, and all the location cards are stories.
So, going through this, we played our first game with Undo 600 Seconds.
Yeah, we played it over the weekend.
And we weren't exactly wowed, but we didn't hate it.
Yeah, I think also we went in thinking it would still feel closer to an escape room in a box
Yes.
experience, like Exit and Unlock. But it turned out to be like Sherlock Holmes light, because you have a scenario and you're just trying to figure out the best possible action for the characters involved.
That's the tricky part.
And that's the hard part. Yes.
Given your 3 choices in every location, part of the caveat you must think of when you play this game is that you are moving through time. So there is a what actually happened flow throughout all the locations
Yes.
that you have to figure out. But
You also don't want to do what the people originally did.
because that means they will still stick to their fate. So in this case, the changes you do, if you choose the right ones by the main character, and I won't even mention the name because that's part of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
story. The main character, the time he needs to undo and disarm the bomb. But then by making certain decisions wrong, you might end up costing that character time, or you might even get that character hurt, which has its own set of consequences.
So in that sense, it's kind of interesting because their perspective on because you could feel like, what if I start at random, and then like I go right before the bomb, I go at the beginning of the day, I go in the middle, and then if you're thinking, are the things I do at the beginning of the day, will they affect future actions? No, they won't. So their premise is that the time stream is sort of like static, and you visit each location, and then you make your changes, and then at the end of the game, all your changes happen at the same time,
Yes.
which is basically compute the total time you have, and then it happens. So it's kind of weird. So Mitch was just asking right at this point, mala Avengers ba to na may multiple timelines?
More
sort
on,
of,
well, if you think about it, the multiple timelines at most is the original one,
and the new one you're gonna make.
the new one you're gonna make, and the other new one you're gonna make where you really fail. Because you still change things, but it still leads to the same ending.
Yes.
So that's at most the three possible timelines you're creating. Because despite all 13 possible locations and 3 choices per location, since you do not apply all these changes until you're done with the game, then in theory they all only collapse and create one new timeline. They don't like location 1 diverges this way, so now location 2 has totally
Yeah,
changed.
it's not that
Yeah.
tricksy. So in that sense, it's not even a full choose your own adventure.
Yeah. And in many ways, that also means, using the fictional example earlier of crossing the street, if we went to a location prior to that, it doesn't mean you won't cross the street later.
Mhm.
No matter what you chose in that earlier scene, you will still be crossing the street later.
Mitch is asking, one time play. Technically, yes, because there's only one story. We
Yeah.
ended up playing it twice because we totally failed the first time.
Yeah, the first one we played.
I think we mostly did the same things the
Yeah.
guy did.
Because we were thinking of what seemed like the smart thing to do.
Yeah, or like
Which-
the logical thing based on the setup.
Which annoyingly meant we were just not changing the timeline.
Yeah.
And later on, after we finished that and realized, okay, that wasn't as satisfying, but then we felt, but that kind of now frees you up to think maybe it really should have,
you focus on changing.
or like maybe the narrative should have told you that, keep in mind some choices are what he made.
Mhm.
So be sure to consider your choices carefully. Something to that effect.
Yeah, so Mitch is like, para naka-pause yung timeline pagkatapos na doon na play. So yeah, so everything is on pause. You make your changes, and then once you spent all your time tokens, you rush to the end, and then all the changes happen.
So, I guess let's go to the more reviewy section of this.
Yeah.
Mine would be first, I'm sad that they didn't have more, what's the word? More immersive or more dramatic.
Yeah, but keep going. Mitch, are we still connected? I think it's just a slowdown. Go.
It's always on my turn.
It's not.
My computer doesn't like me. So,
Mitch says it's okay. All right, let's just go. Let's
we
going.
keep having the pop up.
There's a pop up, but it's not the same pop up. It's not and I
Okay.
don't see stars.
So
Okay.
I wish there was more immersive artwork.
Oh yeah.
The game catches you off guard because the once you open it,
Okay, but
you see this, which is like an ad, right?
and then this is so evocative. This cover is very nice. It's very
But
nice.
beyond this, you then have the cards, which freaks you out at first because you're thinking, where's the manual? And it's only later that you will realize, once you risk looking at the cards, which you're so afraid to look at because it is a game that says stop, that they actually are the manual as well.
Yeah, and then the flow of the rules is really like read rule cards, read the first location card, read a clue card, go back to the rules card, read this card. So it's like, oh, okay, it's very involved. But yeah, it's a little weird.
So the turn order system is that each player takes a turn as the one in charge of making the final decision.
Which is a good basic rule for a cooperative game.
It's a good rule to avoid the situation where someone's taking charge of everything and not giving others a chance to talk. But at the same time, it personally felt unnecessarily added to this game
It felt very arbitrary.
because other than just having someone who has the final say to be different every time, it doesn't really serve any further purpose.
To be fair, this was only the two of us playing. I don't know if the discussion would have been more complicated with like 6 people at the
Yeah,
table.
but beyond nga, just, I mean, even if it weren't a rule and it was, let's say, oh sige, ikaw bahala this turn, ikaw bahala this turn, it wouldn't have had any difference.
Mhm.
I mean, if it were something like each player has, let's say, this token, and when they're the leader that turn, they can spend this token to open an extra clue or something.
Maybe.
Then there would have been a reason for, I'll hold on to my clue because I don't want to use it yet or something like that.
Um, and then for me, the design made me sad, especially when you have cards that are acting as tokens, which I get because from a production standpoint, they just wanted to make cards,
Mhm.
which is pretty cost effective. But it just felt very sad that I now have these 9 identical time cards
Mhm.
and 4 identical magnifying glass cards that they're just tokens.
Would you have preferred some sort of tracker and then the user has to use their own something to track it?
I don't know.
Like, for example, if
If it were just another tarot-sized card as a tracker,
or
and
like the back of the box, for example, had numbers and you put a
yeah,
coin on it.
maybe because the token element, it just felt very like, because all you're gonna do, you start with 9 and then you throw it in the box when you're done.
I wish if, since they were using cards as tokens, then they at least use that moment to have artwork.
Yeah,
So, for
there's
example-
that too. Like, because it's exactly the same card.
Or it could have been thematic. For example, if you had, let's say, nine time tokens to represent the amount of time you have as a weaver of fate to affect everything, then maybe that
It's
9
a
tokens,
countdown.
or it forms the image of the newspaper of the explosion, and you're undoing it,
Yeah,
taking away each token as you're undoing time, and
That would
hopefully
be cute.
changing it.
or at the very least, it could have been a fuse, and then hello, you're playing Hanabi.
So stuff like that. There were opportunities missed.
I don't know if, sorry, on the side, like, if the cost of printing out 13 small cards is really that much cheaper than, let's say, a cardboard sheet. Like, I don't know. Like, but to be fair, because you're gonna play this one, maybe 2 times, you
Mhm.
also don't want to super invest in components.
Mhm.
So that's why they stuck with cards. But yeah, the art makes me sad. The art makes me super sad because I felt like it just could have been more thematic, or like there could have been more going on, because all the location cards are just lots of words, lots of words, and I can imagine that's also a concern, depending on like the age of the people playing, or just making the game more universally accessible, without relying on text so much. So that was a little sad. Maybe just like the Mysterium token. I mean, yeah, same thing. It's like I understand the cost concern, to make this efficient for a one-time game. But yeah, wow. There's someone has illustration credit. Okay, because I do like the cover though.
Yeah, the cover is really
The cover
good.
is very evolved, and then we have another one in the same series, and look at that. It's like it's quite evocative, but yeah, it's not a bad game. And then was this it happened in my turn. We should be back now. But yeah, this is not the first game in the series. There are more undos and more, and this is not the first. So there are those that came out previously. So this is like already the staple of their design. Like this is, they've been at this for a while, and this is what they've decided to do. So I mixed feelings about that element.
So the Board Game Geek lists 9 existing ones.
Hmm.
Undo 600 Seconds is the latest one so far. Well, that has been released, except for Peak of No Return, which is. Ah, no, there's 2.
There's
There's
Long Live the King.
Long Live the King 2021 and Peak of No Return, which obviously has to do with climbing a mountain. But they go as far back as 2019.
So it's not that old a game either.
In 2019, they had Blood in the Gutter, Cherry Blossom Festival, Curse from the Past, Drowned Hopes, Forbidden Knowledge, Treasure Fever. So that's a good number of experiences. I also wish that the game tried to give the player that sense of an ending. The After going through the different locations, after trying to figure out how the clues relate to the decision making, once you've run out of time tokens, you go through the ending cards. And the ending cards consist of a lot of black and white text, a few tables that will make sense once you go through them.
Yeah.
But beyond that, nothing. I would have hoped that there were, let's say, 3 ending cards, and maybe that ending card has an image, full color. You have one where it shows, it still explodes, and we have a dramatic explosion of a building or something.
Yeah.
But something that would feel like, we got this, and that sense of joy or that sense of pain that comes from a victory or loss.
Yeah.
Instead, you just have paragraphs to read, and
the technically the paragraphs they give you is the official timeline,
mhm,
and then they just highlighted the most important events to change,
mhm.
but it didn't give you like what was the alternate scenario.
Yeah. Instead, you just know if you succeeded and what score you got.
Yeah.
So it almost suddenly feels like a term paper at the end of it all,
because you just score,
which
and
is sad.
Yeah.
Which is a total, it's like you created a movie, but just as the cliffhanger is about to happen, you give them the summary.
and it's supposed to be a story game,
Mhm.
and then so now it feels like the ending was the weakest part.
Yes.
Because I guess the only ending that the game is trying to steer you towards is, in this case, the bomb doesn't blow up. That's your goal. And the only paragraphs that mention that are basically in the score table that will compare
Mhm.
how much time you generated at the end of the game, and then it will tell you if it was enough. It almost feels like you answered a quiz in a magazine, and did you answer mostly A's, B's, or C's, and here's your score, and this is what it means.
Now, comparisons are tricky because Exit, for example, really promises to try to twist your brain and force you to think out of the box.
Mm-mm.
Unlock, on the other hand, tries to be a much more user-friendly escape room experience because it doesn't want you to cut anything. It doesn't want you to trash anything.
It can reset.
It wants you to have something you can reset and even possibly, share or play again with someone else or play again once you've forgotten how it's solved. And we've realized many unlock games do have that area because they're not so clean cut to understand how you did it that when you play it again, I don't remember what we did here, and it can be played again.
Yeah, I want to play Oz again because I don't remember it.
um, Undo feels too short to play through more than twice. And the playthrough more than twice is you play through it, you sincerely find out how you performed, and then you go, huh? O sige, let's see nga, let's try what happens if we do it that way, just to read how it altered things. And
Yeah.
and unfortunately, that doesn't give that much fulfillment either, because it tends to open an extra paragraph or a few sentences of what happened when you did that choice instead. But beyond that, as much as it sounds like a pun on the game, you really don't change anything.
There is that. Challenge. Mitch is asking how many minutes. The box rates it as 45 to 90.
Mhm.
I think that's about fair because there's a lot of reading.
I don't feel though that the time will be spent much on decision making.
Yeah.
Because in many cases you don't feel like you have much information to decide on things. I feel a lot more time is spent on, okay, so do we risk this or do we risk that? Because I think this is what's happening. And while that's not in any way not fun, it does, however, feel like I don't want to do this wrong. rather than I want to see what will happen if we do this.
Mhm. Oh, and then there's that whole thing about the magnifying glass thing, which we didn't quite get at the beginning.
Mhm.
So it's supposed to be a clue. At first, we thought it would be an enrichment clue to
So
like
you
a
can see the
deeper part
parts.
of the story later on. So that would it help us solve something later, and then we have to answer a question, and then very Sherlock Holmes.
Mm.
So that didn't happen. So really, the magnifying glass cards, in terms of they unlock clues, are really just to help you make a decision of which of the three choices on the story card to take.
Mm.
Maybe I don't know. Also, if there was really a lot of benefit of opening clue cards of previous locations we've been to in the game,
Mhm.
because you've already made those choices.
And the details are in many ways quite vague. That they
Mhm.
don't really. Many of the details you get don't help you in the long run. They just help you for that specific scene.
Yeah, yeah.
So like there was one wherein we find out that this thing happened, and we're like, oh, okay, so that explains that scene. So why do we care about that for the overall story? And
Yeah.
we didn't quite feel that later on.
So that's a tricky part. It's a very tricky thing. So we definitely can't compare it in the sense that it's not apples to apples. This is not an escape room in a box. This is a short choose your own adventure as a card game, which is not terrible. Like there's still an appeal for something like this, and I
Mhm.
can see it working also with depending on the themes of the story, but it can work with like a family setting.
If you play this and you all go full speculation mode, there's a bomb and this and that, and then you're looking, and one of the cards says it's in the casino or something. Then you start talking. So maybe he was at the casino when the bomb first thing. And with all this, that's where the fun comes in.
Yeah.
But
And we deliberately tried to not visit the cards in order. We
Mhm.
didn't live the day as normal, which probably added to our difficulty because it was really every time we jump, huh? Where are we? Who is this?
and well, that was partly because we wanted also to see what it would be like.
Yeah, we wanted to feel the time travel element.
But I guess in some ways that also says the game wasn't written with that approach in mind. So we intentionally probably made it harder for ourselves, but the game wasn't designed to help us, and that was a bit frustrating considering it's a game that's not supposed to be replayable.
Yeah, yeah. And considering you can't visit all locations given your limited time tokens. So technically, although there are 13, you open the first location for free. So you can visit 9 more. So you're only going to see you're gonna miss 3 locations.
Mhm.
And I can sort of tell you now that the future location is not helpful. It's mildly helpful, maybe, but it wasn't super helpful. And it's deliberate because it's the future. It's not what you're gonna change. Um, so there is that, and then I wasn't happy with the amount of text and the way things were laid out. Like it's an info dumpy. It's like the last episode of Trece. No, I'm kidding. But it's just a lot of talking. And I understand the desire to make it challenging because no names are mentioned. It's always the man, the woman, the boy. You don't know whose perspective you're dealing with, and then you just sort of have to piece together the actual story beyond that.
I
So
guess
it's tricky.
I guess my last feedback would be on a design note. I will never understand why making text have a red background mean that's a good thing,
Yes.
because it literally had us go, oh crap, and then later on we're like, oh, so that was good.
It bought us some time.
But when you see text and it's red background, white text, that doesn't scream, awesome, you found this. That says you just got hit, or it's a negative thing. So there was a design choice there that was questionable.
Yeah, I know, and I had to say, no, it's in the list of things. It's okay. It's like the story card says it's okay. So that was funny.
So, do we want to undo the fact that we played this game? I say no.
No.
It was still an enjoyable experience.
It gave us a new experience, and
It-
I'm not gonna fault it, and I'm still gonna want to play the next
Yeah,
one.
it does make me worry though that this one we played is near the end of what has been released so far, and this is where they are.
Yeah, it hasn't really grown. But
So-
to be fair, I feel like, let's say all the 2019s, I'm sure they came out at the same time.
Yeah.
Like it's a production cycle, sort of like exit and undo. Exit and unlock release in like threes. So it's
And
possible.
will we still be buying more of these? I say yes. They're worth an exploration. They're a good quick dash of something different when you're not in the mood to deal with lots of components.
But I think we could get it secondhand. Like I'm not gonna rush
Hmm.
to buy the latest undo when it shows up in retailers.
Mhm.
I think you might want to wait. Only because because you're not getting amazing components, you're not getting anything reusable, and then the experience is like just okay. It's not as mind blowing as some of the exits. Like when exits really good, oh my god, it's really good. And then even um, unlock has a charm of its own, and I have enjoyed many a good unlock. This one, at least in the first one that we played, I don't know yet. I don't feel like that excitement to get every new edition.
Yeah, and I think the biggest challenge for me regarding the Undo series, at least based on the first one we've tried, is that it tried to package a choose your own adventure type of experience in a smaller box, in a smaller scale, because it only has a limited number of cards. With that comes a huge challenge of making sure every word matters and every narrative counts. And I feel that's where perhaps they could get a bit more tweaking to get it much more effective. Because we had probably around 3 locations before we started to get, okay, so this is how
This
we're
is what's
supposed to play
happening.
this.
Yeah.
And that is painful if you consider we're only allowed to visit 9 locations in the game.
Yeah, we had burned through a third of our tokens.
And it's only then, that's what we should have been
Night,
doing.
Rehan.
So that was the thing about it. So that is my thoughts on Undo. What are your thoughts? Any last words?
Kaboom! um, so, quick notes on strategy, if there is any, is that I think there is that reminder of generally you have the status quo action, something that is slightly better, maybe, and something that is slightly worse. And sometimes the slightly worse just means zero time and no penalties. Sometimes it means negative. Sometimes good, what sounds like a good story turn, still penalizes you. So it's a weird give and take time system. But think about that because like for us, our first game we literally telegraphed the original actions of the guy.
Because they seem like the best actions to take, but it turned out to be the actions he already took.
Yeah. So then it's like we didn't really change time. So we had a lot of zeros and then like, oh no.
And while that was part of how the game is designed, the score we got was simply you failed.
Yeah.
Which I guess for me, I would have rather maybe if the language was, you figured out what the time stream was, but you didn't exactly help him. Try again because you did basically learn from that mistake.
Yeah, technically the story cards give you your scoring table and then it tells you do you want to find out the story?
Yeah.
You may replay the game. So it doesn't encourage you super to replay the game. It just tells you, hey, you want to find out what happened?
Yeah, I feel that this, as much as it seems like an extra cost that is accepted by Unlock and Exit, could have done better with a tutorial part. A short, brief moment that helps you grasp how it will work would have helped.
Yeah.
I would have even, since they're going for the cards as your, let's start by using the cards anyway and you're playing the game. Then maybe instead of just 13 locations, there were 15. And the first 2 locations you visit are the rules.
Or the demo locations. Yeah.
So that way you go through it while you're learning. Again, another missed opportunity. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Undo.
Yeah. So it was like it was okay. And then and then admittedly, because we had to replay, um, I don't know if we really needed to replay it, or would we have just turned over all the cards and then like just what was the choice? What was the choice? But it was okay. It was okay, and it's an interesting new experience. It is something I would play when we've run out of unlocks and run. Oh, are we back? Because the timer is still running.
Did we just get undone?
Did we just undo the stream? Oop, 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 oop. Hey, hey, are you okay? Hey, hey, are you okay? Is the patient responsive? Hey, hey, are you okay? But we're on
Yeah,
something.
it seems to be running. Hey, were you okay? Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess we should wrap up before the stars come back.
The time stream is unraveling. We cannot talk about this game anymore.
But that's our episode on Undo 600 Seconds. In the future, we will have an episode covering
Peak of no
Peak of No
return.
Return. But for now,
Oh,
that's
I'm kind of sad. Look, wait. 600 is super thematically labeled, and then Peak of No Return is just text. Oh well. All right. Yeah. So I hope we don't have to undo this episode. But thank you for joining. So if you have questions or suggestions for future episodes, you can fill up the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. You can also follow us on Twitter, Altobi No Shade, RG Sunico.
you can also check out our blog, badaypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below. What did you think about the game? Did we sound too negative? Does it make you not want to play at all? Or are you still intrigued by this time traveling story? Do let us know. And be sure to subscribe for notifications. What are you doing?
I'm trying to keep the letters readable.
Be sure to subscribe to notifications whether on Facebook or YouTube so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rafi.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Clapping the games. Well, thank you very much, everyone.